Yo, 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 yo. This is Bullies on Parade. Episode 6, Blood in, Blood out. Yes, sir, we are back in the grind, in the action, back at full force. Always. All engines are revving right now and ready to rock, you know what I'm saying? We're going to wait a little bit and let some people hop on here, but this has been a super interesting week for us with the whelping and everything going on. This is definitely a blessing.
Yeah, it shows you know how life can change from one minute to another. Carlos,
how's it going, buddy? Mario, how's it going? Thanks for joining us today. We're going to wait a little bit longer for some people to log on, and we'll get to it. But yeah, man, a super blessing this past few weeks, even though it's been a lot of turmoil, but we all know that with a lot of turmoil always comes good, you know. We're super blessed to have this litter on the ground, man. Super healthy puppies. They look real good. They're starting to open up their eyes now, and we're slowly progressing into, you know, the different stages, man. Tori, how's it going, buddy? Thank you, brother. Thank you, Mario. Was congratulating us on the litter. We appreciate that, bro. Yeah, definitely. We waited a long time to do this. You know, we really did. We took our time with it. We didn't rush anything. I mean, Gracie's almost 3 years old, you know, so, yeah. But I got to tell you, it was all worth the wait, man. She's a great mother. She tends to her litter fantastic. I mean, she's very, very clean with her litter, and you know, things have been evolving with the litter very good, you know, slowly but surely. Everything is making its progress, and the puppies are getting super, super healthy and moving around, and can't wait to see them up and going, man. Can't wait to see them.
We can't.
You know,
we're doing all that work for a reason.
Yeah. We've had a few episodes. We had a few episodes in the past that we've been indulging in, and it, you know, this is our 6th episode. So those of you that have missed the episodes prior to this can always hop on Spotify, on YouTube, check out all the information, you know. And these are all points of views from our kennel. You know what I'm saying? These are points of views from our kennel, and we're definitely blessed to be able to be in this position to be able to bring information to you guys, you know, and bring a platform that we can all share together. George Luna, how's it going, brother? Carlos, how's it going, man? Good to have you guys on board. We're going to wait, I'd say another minute or two, and then we're going to get to the conversation, but definitely have some shows coming up for the WBA. May 23rd, Capes and Bullies Showcase in San Bruno, California. Yep. That one's going to be a good one. Those of you in Cali got to attend that one. That one's going to be in Central Cali, so everybody can join us around California.
That was going to be fun.
Yep, that was going to be a lot of fun.
Definitely be there.
Jeremy, thanks for joining us, Jeremy. Pack Edge. WBA, May 31st. WBA Mania in Tula, Mexico. The 31st of May. So that'll be another show that we'll hopefully be attending. And September 19th, our Kansas Midwest Bully Showdown 2.0. That one is definitely going to be a good one, man. That one's going to be a good one. The first one was an amazing hit. I can't wait to see the people back out there again and bringing out all their dogs.
I can't wait to see all you guys,
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's going to be good to see all the family out there in the Midwest and, you know, catch up. That's why we do this show too, man.
Yeah.
Because we can all kind of gather and talk information, and you know that's one thing with this podcast is a platform for us to be able to share all this information with you guys. You know what I'm saying? So October 3rd, Beast from the East, Pittsburgh. Man, that one's going to be...
I can't wait for that one either.
I can't wait for that one. These are all going to be some real good shows, man.
That's groundbreaking right there.
Yeah, we know that other registries are having shows as well, but these are just the shows that we'll be attending. You know what I'm saying? So these, like I said, this is all information based on our kennel and what we do. You know what I'm saying? So don't take this personal or anything like that. That's just the shows that we'll be attending. Actually, the St. Bruno show, I'll be judging in that show. So
that's right.
That's going to definitely be something fun.
Change of pace.
Change of pace for us, you know, change of pace for me, get back to the learning experiences again. And, you know, being a judge has been a blessing, you know, has been a blessing. I've had some great mentors, and I've been an international judge now for a while now, and been putting in my work internationally. And, you know, I've had some shows here in the States that I've also judged, and, you know, these are all great learning experiences. But to be able to judge in California is a little special, you know, and it'll be my first show in Cali. And most of the time, I compete as well. You know, our kennel competes, so we don't want to make it in any which way conflict of interest. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So the shows that we do judge, we don't show or bring any of our work or anything like that. We specifically go to do the job that we were hired to do, and that we were assigned to do. Actually, I wouldn't say hired to do, assigned to do. You know, these are all the blessings. These are all blessings, and it's been a wonderful learning experience for us, because I come back to the kennel and I relay all the information, and we all learn together, right?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely been a blessing. Shout out to all my mentors. You guys know who you guys are. I really appreciate the opportunities to be out here working and doing my part in the bully community, you know, so thank you guys for that. No need for names or anything like that, you know what I'm saying? But we all know who you are, and thank you very much for that. We really appreciate the opportunity, you know what I'm saying? It's been a blessing. So with that, let's get into this show. Episode 6, Bullies on Parade, blood in,
mics are hot,
blood out.
The mics are hot.
This one was a great opportunity for us to really indulge in not just what a bloodline is, but what consists of bloodlines. Because I believe that bloodline, just the phrase itself, the name itself, has been thrown around in our community like if it was hotcakes. You know what I'm saying?
I want to know what some of you guys think of bloodline.
Right.
Like
so
off the bat, like right away, like what's up?
You know,
before we start, go ahead and chop it up on right here. Right, we got a few heads. What do you guys think? Huh?
Yeah, man. What do you guys think is a bloodline?
We're on our way, because we're about to tell you.
We're at least what we believe is a bloodline in our philosophy and our theory, right? Backed with a little bit of good information, you know what I'm saying? But definitely, you know, what is a bloodline? Is a bloodline a single dog that creates a bunch of other dogs that were born from that dog? Is it a family of dogs? Is it a one-hit wonder type of situation that you may think, oh, you know what? This dog is amazing, and, you know, Joe Schmo, and now it's Joe Schmo line, you know, because you've bred to this dog and you believe that you have the line, you know. I believe that term gets tossed around very loosely in our community. And the way I see it is we have to really pay homage and respect to those kennels that turned into programs, that turned into bloodlines, because that definitely is not just a situation that happens overnight. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
To us, a bloodline is a collaboration of work that is 6 or more generations of a consistent look and a consistent genotype being thoroughly bred through those 6 generations. Right? So what does that mean? Does that mean that when you look at a pedigree, it has different kennels that have been involved in the creation of that dog? Does that make that dog per se a Joe Schmo line? Or is it one kennel that honed in all its work into 6 generations, and when you open up that pedigree, top and bottom is all of that kennel in front of the dog's name? You know? So, what is it? You know, like I said, to us, it is that. A collaboration, a condensity of work, 6 or plus generations of that same pheno.
And we're gonna get into
and
this.
Geno.
But we also understand that that's just one part of what that is. Because in order for it to be what we consider a bloodline to be, has to meet not just that criteria, but more criteria than that.
Correct. And we'll get, as we
but
converse.
That's one. That's one. Is it or is it not? What do you guys think?
Right? What do you guys think?
Mario over here.
What do we got with Mario? Let's see. A bloodline is a line of descent from a common ancestor, especially showing how traits, genetics, or lineage are passed through generations. Correct. That's well said.
And how many generations would that take, right? So we will go with at least six, and that's the minimum.
At least 6, top and bottom of your work, and just like Mario said, what it basically means in layman's term is you're creating a family tree. That's what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You're creating a family tree that has the same traits, that has the same look, that has possibly the same temperaments. You know what I'm saying? These are all genetic traits that get passed on.
That has to have that.
That has to have that,
because if not, I can tell you I've created a few bloodlines myself. Just like I said, there's not inconsistency.
With women.
Right. In human form. Not in my dogman form. That's different. I was just watching something about dogmen. Back in, the theory, the werewolf concept. Anyway,
that's crazy.
We're back to real stuff.
Right. So, does one stud get credit for calling it a line?
Yeah, here we go. Tori says, how about a community of breeders who bounce back and forth from each other, line breeding, but with different kennel names? Would that be a strain or a bloodline?
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a great question, and we're going to dive into that.
We will. We are.
You know what I'm saying? We're going to dive into that. So,
this is what we want. We want to raise the question what it is, because I know you guys ain't gonna leave me all out there just to start spilling out all the names.
You know what I'm saying?
Rocks. But we got to be a community here, and we got to understand. Well, what is this? What is this bloodline?
Right. Because like I said, man, we're all students, man. Yeah. We're all students. My philosophy, our philosophy might be different than others' philosophy, but if we can all get together and share what we all think, as trial and tribulation, as trial and error will show you what is what. You know what I'm saying? So,
Charles, what's up? Loftus?
A bloodline is established in a kennel, correct? From one kennel, we just said that. Through generations of work, right? So that kennel would have 6+ generations of a certain look, a certain type of dog.
That's right.
That no matter where he goes in the community,
through their program,
you can see that dog and say, hey, that comes from so-and-so line.
That's right.
Because the community in itself has accepted it as a line. And we're also going to get into that as well.
That's right.
Does the community make it a bloodline? Does the community say, hey, just because the dogs are born from a certain dog and now we know that this guy is this guy's son, so now we're going to call it the Zeus line?
Right.
If that dog doesn't create anything that even looks close to him or has any similarities to what it may be.
Right.
I think that some of us, and I'm going to be honest in our situation. Right now, we are in the program stage.
That's right.
We are in the program stage of building a bloodline.
That's right.
How do you establish a kennel when you take 2 or 3 different bloodlines, established bloodlines, foundational bloodlines?
That's right.
You bring them to your situation where you may be. You have 3 dogs from different lineages, established lineages that you plan to create and build a bloodline. Because you have those 3 dogs, does that mean that you have a bloodline there with those 3 dogs? A program begins once you start to breed. Correct?
That's right.
That's when a program starts. It's not when you hypothesize about what can be what or this or what. It's when you actually begin the process of breeding. Jesse Gomez, Bunky, how's it going, man? when you actually begin the process of breeding, that's when it's considered a program. You're working in generations to establish a point where 6, 7, 8 generations deep, you can say, hey, I think we have a consistent enough look that we've been breeding and condensing with what we have. Now we can call it a certain type of line, because now our studs are producing that look.
That's right. And I hope that this doesn't go over your heads. If it's a look, it's consistently to the standard, and it's your own look. It's not somebody else's look that's already been developed. And
you're starting to develop your own pheno, may you say, but still according to the standard.
That's right.
Yeah, don't go off straying from the standard here.
Come on, guys.
You know what I'm saying?
And we shouldn't be so. But I want to clarify it at sometimes, because you first off you have to stick to the standard, and there are programs that have created bloodlines.
Yes.
That we can now
officially
find clean, find the genetic stamp, find everything that falls into the criteria
and
of
follow
bloodline,
pedigrees.
and follow the pedigree and do the right work.
And follow the pedigrees. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is a huge thing that I believe we don't really pay too much attention to, is pedigrees. And I know that a lot of us are really dabbling into these things because we're starting to try to understand on how to go about.
Takes generations.
But it takes generations of work to really figure it out.
Takes generations.
Now, if you take a breeding pair from per se, an established bloodline, does that give you the right to say, hey, I have this bloodline and I just bred them to, they come from per se the Z kennel, they have their bloodline, and it comes from them to a breeding pair that I bred them to, is that considered their bloodline? Absolutely. That's when you can say, hey, you put your name in front of it because you made that breeding, but this is this bloodline. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And that gives the stamp and also the credit to where the credit should be due.
That's right.
Not just for the foundational stock that you just acquired, but also to yourself as the breeder who put those two together, who had the thought and probably had the plan with the breeder, by talking to the breeder
had the okay, that which you should have.
Yeah, that the breeder said,
clear
okay,
communication.
Fantastic. Here's this breeding pair. What do you think? You said, hey, this is fantastic. I want these two. You took them home. You bred them. You did the work. You put your name in front because you did the breeding. But this is also this bloodline. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the credit comes into that. I feel like sometimes in the community we say, oh, well, this is King Kamehameha bloodline. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, wait a minute, how many breedings has that dog had? 2.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute. Well, I wouldn't consider that a bloodline. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Mario says, I gently call that more of a strain than a strict bloodline. From the genetic standpoint, once multiple breeders are exchanging dogs, you're widening the gene pool a bit and reducing how tightly controlled the lineage is. That's correct. That's correct. And that's why a lot of old school bloodlines will not allow you to do that. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Will not allow you to do that. They will, get a range for you to be able to work with the product, but also not stray too far. You know what I'm saying? Because a good breeder will tell you what and what not to do with that dog,
So speaking on that concept, so we understand it takes time to make a bloodline.
Right.
It takes consistency.
Right.
Meaning that whoever your sire or whoever your dame that you're going to make a bloodline based off of, has to have those qualities that she could actually push consistency.
And he can push too.
He can push consistency.
Genetically.
I mean, genetically have the stamp, have litters.
Yes.
Have multiple generations behind its back.
Yes.
Obviously have the paperwork behind it.
Right. The stamp of the pedigree's right behind it. You know what I'm saying? That definitely has a lot to do with what you would consider a bloodline. Jesse Gomez says, after how many litters of champs would you consider that a bloodline? Well, like we said, it's not so many litters, it's generations.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's generations of that same strand work together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because at this point, fellas, we're not in the ring. We're not in the arena. We're in the program. We're in the kennel. You know, the hopefully
at this point, hopefully you're starting to produce some champions.
And hopefully the dogs that you produce that could be American Bullies and bad to the bone, but they don't go to the shows.
Right.
And then we'll talk about that because there are some programs that exist and you're not going to see them at the show because they're tight. They're tight to the chest. Or
they're still doing their thing, but they're doing it for themselves. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They're not doing it so much for the glitz and glamour anymore. They've already surpassed all that. And now their breedings are very meaningful.
And maybe they just can't, you know? But hopefully we get them back.
Right. So
that's what we strive for.
Like Jesse just said, champions, does producing champions make a bloodline? Does producing champion females, champion males, I wouldn't really necessarily call it, but if you're a champion dog, then that means you were obviously very close to the standard. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So to me, that's a great thing. Getting back to that, last week we were talking about studs.
That's right.
Right? And we mentioned a few studs. And these were just an overall kind of, for I guess you could say the people that aren't really tied to the community and understand dogs, that have just more heard of the lines, right? Like Gotti line and Dax line, like I was saying, like Gotti and Dax. Last week we were talking about studs. The thing with that is you must consider a percentage when looking at studs. Like if the dog has been bred, say 100 times, and out of 100 times, only 5 dogs fit the mark, is he really a good stud? Could you really base a line of consistency off of that dog? So that's what, opens the conversation to that. And that's why we mentioned Dax and Gotti. They weren't so much dogs that were these phenomenal dogs that did this or that. No, they were dogs that were massively reproduced. And if you look at the overall look of the dog and the overall percentage of whatever it may be they bred to a lot. So out of those dogs, how many would you say were phenomenal dogs? If the amount is half and half, if the amount is if it's more than half and half, you got a good stud. Because the other half is the females, obviously, right? But if you've only produced out of 10 females, one good dog, from the same male, logic would say
that to me.
That it's not a very good stud, right? Mm-hmm. And its lineage isn't very good to pass on whatever that champion might have been.
Or in layman's terms, you're not going to get consistency.
Right. And then we talked about somebody like Waffle House, right? Another stud. This stud, I believe, has like 20-something champions, out of, I don't know, maybe 100 breedings, he has more than half or whatever champions. That's a good stud.
That's a great stud.
You know what I'm saying? Bistro is another stud because he was a dog that could pass on his look, his pheno, very well. That was another good stud.
Yes.
In what the overall look is. You know what I'm saying? The percentage-wise. Not so much on 1 or 2 breedings, but the percentage-wise of the breedings, right? How many more champions, how many more grand champions, and all this. That has a lot to do as well and how well you're breeding your breeding tree.
And talk on that. That's your first key is to find a stud that can do that.
Right.
Now, to find a stud that could do that, and then its protege do that, and its protege do the same.
Right.
Now you're talking a bloodline. Now you're talking about a bloodline that fits a criteria. One of the many.
One of the many.
One of the many. We have at least 6 to say that we can say this is what needs to happen for you to actually, and there's not that many who have accomplished all that.
Yeah.
Luckily for us, we do know a few.
We do know a few, and we'll get into that. A lot of the times, we tend to think that a group or collaborations between a group that you would call bloodline, you know, I mean, it's a fine line there, right? Because like Mario said, you're allowing more space in the blood and you're not really densifying the way you should. But if, like Tori said, all you guys were on the same page and every single one of you took a piece of the kennel and you're still building off of that, well, would you call that a bloodline? That's a good question, you know? That's a good question. So to me, like we've said, I believe that a bloodline comes from one kennel. One kennel's work. You know what I'm saying? One kennel's work. A kennel that has become a program that eventually becomes a bloodline, right? So what are some good bloodlines right now in our community that we can say, hey, these are true bloodlines? When you look at some of their pedigrees, it's stacked with their work. There's nothing but their generations of work. Yeah. You know, one of them is the president of the WBA, Oscar Gomez, with Blue Pride.
Yep.
And I know this for a fact because we've used some of his studs.
Well.
And we've have different studs in our yard that we've used. But when we've used his bloodline, we've gotten his look. That's right. That phenotype. And that's exactly what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what we're talking about. Another good one that has a lot of work behind it is the bully market with Robert. A ton of work behind it. Right. And I know this because we have bully market dogs in our yard. We have a bully market dog, Badass. And I look at his pedigree and it's a wonderful, well-bred pedigree that puts out his stamp for sure, for sure.
Jesse,
another
Mario.
one.
Yeah.
Suarez.
That's right.
Suarez Bulls with Marco Suarez. Another one that look is stamped on these dogs through generations of work. You look at some of Marcos's pedigrees and they're stacked top and bottom with Suarez. You know, generations of it, if not 10 plus. Fella. You know, generations. Not just one, not just a litter, not just a champion. Generations. There were also some older bloodlines that a lot of the American bullies took after, like for example, Gray Line, Blue Line. These were all bigger dogs, you know, but they had a lot to do with bringing in generations of work, a bloodline to actually focus and become foundations of certain kennels. That's right. That then became programs that did not have the longevity to become bloodlines. That's right. Right? So somewhere down the line, they fell off. Yeah, they fit some of the criteria. They just didn't fit it all. And you know, the truth, either it's going to sustain us in the game or we're going to fall off. Right. Now. And have to start all over. There's also bloodlines like with Richard, I believe it's Richard Barajas, right? With Gotti line. Like, quote me if I'm wrong, right? But I believe it is. And people, you know, may think, well, Gotti, I'm pretty sure that Richard in his yard bred to his stuff. You know what I'm saying? And did all of these things between him. So, yeah, he carried that stamp, that look. Obviously, maybe I haven't really looked into those pedigrees. I'll have to look into those pedigrees. But if you guys know how deep he went in, that'd be great. Throw some comments on there. You know what I'm saying? Blue Force. Bunky says Blue Force. Watchdog, Gray Line. Remy Line. We were talking about Remy Line. Remy Line was eventually, right, through the breeding of a group that started off of one dog. I believe the guy's name was Chester or something like that. That started off of Remy, right? And well, he didn't produce the dog. He acquired the dog. And then from there, he blew him up to actually have a registry off of that dog and do all of these things off of that dog that then later would be considered the Remy line.
Good story. Good true story.
You know, others feel differently. Others feel like Remy was just a one dog, that you couldn't start off with that dog because really, I believe the guy Chester didn't really breed the dog too much. So he didn't even get into 6 generations. So, I mean, these are all things in the air. So if you guys have any more comments on that, that's great. Let us know. You know what I'm saying? What's another one? Because he worked on his program until he had the right product. Right. I mean, yeah, you have to continuously work on your program until your product is correct. You know? Through acquisitions and then after you've acquired what you need, you then densify through generations of work, you know? And like I said,
Royal Bloodlines.
Certified.
There's Westway right there. What's up, Gabe?
Yeah, what's up, Gabriel?
Certified butthead, homie.
Butthead.
Going back to the old school.
Certified. Yeah, I mean, these are all old, what people would consider bloodlines, you know, through generations of work. So these are all good things, you know, that we can all take into consideration. So now that when we hear the word, this is, I don't know, Zeus blood, you know, like, wait a minute, you know, another dog like that is Rocco. You know, Rocco, they say, Rocco blood. Like, no, Rocco's one dog.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Rocco's one dog. And I'm not sure if that guy has 6, 7 generations. I don't know his work like that. But what I do know is that, you know, I haven't really seen too much of that dog to say, wow, you know. Most of it I've seen is an extreme dog, you know. And like we've said before, the show dog is a fine line. It's a beauty pageant. It's a fine line. And that's how we take it. Extreme dogs to us are tools. Some good tools, some bad tools. You just have to know what kind of tool you got in your shed, right?
So what do you guys think?
What do you guys think?
What kind of tool would you guys want?
You know,
because like we said, you know, not all dogs are show dogs.
Right.
Not all show dogs are good dogs.
Now, a lot of people would also say razor's edge. Razor's edge is always, everybody says, it's razor's edge. It's razor's edge.
Let's get into that.
But, you know, I mean, look, like I've said, kennels turn into programs turn into bloodlines, right? And these are all things that, like I said, this is just discussion, right? And if you look at what the prime dog for razor's edge is right now, what's the example of the prime dog that is supposed to be the best razor's edge dog right now is the Demon Boy. Demon Boy, right? Is the face of razor's edge right now. But if you look at the pedigree, it doesn't match up what you would consider a bloodline, right? When you look at the pedigree, I believe he comes from Muscle Tone Magoo, which has a lot of Gotti and Dax. You know what I'm saying? So it differentiates on how you would consider that. Now, the Razor Edge was a group of breeders that collaborated together. What we just said, and what Mario just said, you would do what? You would thin out the blood instead of densifying it, right?
Right.
That is, to me, that's my theory on it. And that's why I think to myself,
correct us if we're wrong.
Correct us if we're wrong.
Because maybe maybe I ain't got the math right. Maybe maybe it's not computing in my head. But
Mario says Razor's Edge is a bloodline. However, the Razor's Edge kennel is no longer a part of the bloodline. It's like Mr. Doberman. Well, you know, that's the thing. So would you still consider it if it's not coming from the same kennel? You know what I mean? Or would now that be something different? Like we said, if a kennel sells you a breeding pair and says, hey, run with my stuff, and like we were saying, eventually you have to take credit for your work.
Yeah.
It cannot just be that you're running off of that bloodline the whole time, because no matter what, you're bringing in different ingredients of your own.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
it doesn't form consistency.
It doesn't form the consistency as you said earlier. You know, I believe that in itself, if it just came from that Razor's Edge kennel, then I would consider that. Because if you look at right now, for example, Marco. Everything that comes from Marco is still Suarez bull.
Yeah, and you can
track it all back. And everything that comes from Oscar, it's still Blue Pride. And you could track it back. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are all things that I myself take into consideration, you know, before actually saying this is a true bloodline. Now that it was a great collaboration among great breeders, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? That created dogs, absolutely. That eventually some of those kennels became bloodlines of their own. And absolutely, I believe that. You know,
and that's the thing. You know, it's that there comes a point where if you're not careful, even all bloodlines can be lost.
Right.
You
Jesse Gomez says, well, that's for other reasons, I believe, and I don't think that kennel is working for consistency for the breed to continue. I believe they probably got lost in the sauce. That's the thing, you know what I'm saying? And that's where you really take into consideration.
It's a common belief out there, Jesse.
You know, that's where you start taking into consideration the accumulation of work and where it still stands, right? If you can solidify your phenotype by your bloodline, now you're on fucking track.
Right.
If you can solidify your bloodline by your phenotype, now you're on the fucking track. You know what I'm saying?
If you consistently do that.
And if you consistently do that.
And you're still on top of that and on point, and you understand that if you don't do that, you're losing.
Yes.
You're losing because you're not being really focused on that.
So now that we discussed that, let's talk about what would you consider a program or a bloodline? Okay, that's a good one right there. What would you consider?
What do you guys consider to be a
program or a bloodline? We just had a bunch of people tell us about bloodlines.
I can speak on both programs.
Yeah, so now let's talk about, a lot of people were speaking about bloodlines. Now let's talk about programs. Which to you would consider a program right now? Not legitly a bloodline, but a program, a work in progress, a program, you know, progressive, you know. Let's see. I may have a few, and these are just my opinion. This is just my opinion. You know, this isn't everybody's opinion. This isn't the homie Esco's opinion. This is my opinion. You know what I'm saying? On what I believe is more of a program than a bloodline. Right? So, I've heard Venom line, all these Rocco blood, Grim blood, you know, Bossy blood, you know, like there's certain stuff that I believe.
Muscle tone,
you know, muscle tone. A lot of people, I mean, look, if you think about it, and we just said it, muscle tone, even though, and I'm gonna be honest here, I don't agree with any of it. I simply can't. But that I don't take away the fact that man Bashar may have a program, because he's still running his kennel off of his name and he's still breeding dogs and he has many generations, from my understanding of it. Then would you consider him a bloodline?
We're just talking.
We're just talking.
Hey, we're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
We're not saying yes. We're not saying no.
Now, believe me when I tell you that is not the dog for your boy. You know what I'm saying? It's not my type of dog, you know? And I'm gonna be honest. We've had some muscle tone blood in the beginning. And as it evolved, it didn't make it to a year in our kennel. We got rid of him. He got placed in a pet home. And we cut his nuts off.
Yeah, definitely a lot.
And he grew into being a great pet.
Yeah.
I don't take anything away from those programs that turned into bloodlines. I don't. But what I consider a bloodline is something that's positive, that brings good qualities, good traits, that you can start foundations off of. You can start kennels, begin programs off of.
That you should.
As a starting kennel,
I ain't gonna lie to you.
You should start off with these bloods.
You shouldn't do. Yeah.
When we started off, we got a stud from the bully market, a beautiful line bred, the bus son, a grandson. And then we started acquiring beautiful females from Westway. And we started putting together some really good stuff. Then we came in to Blue Pride because now we were looking to really bring in some foundation, some good traits, healthy traits, to begin the process of building a quality program. To then, hopefully one day, if we can continue the process and we can continue the work and stay true to the game, hopefully we might have the privilege of even considering ourselves a bloodline.
Yeah, that's gonna do a Bully Den is a program.
You know, we are a program and a working program.
That's right.
And we work very hard.
George Luna says, I work with selective bloodlines. My program is a work in progress, and I'm grateful for the people that work their butt off and produce something I can build on. And that's a program. That's
true.
And one day, he himself is going to have
George Luna himself, director of judges, of magnificent handler, in the AKC, won all kinds of stuff, bred some of the best dogs in the AKC, some great am staffs, and the man is still progressing. You know what I'm saying? These things don't come very lightly. So when our community tends to use those words, bloodline, it kind of really grinds my gears.
Really does. It really does.
You know what I mean? It's like, shit, we've been at it.
You're burning the clutch.
Yeah, man, we've been at it for a while, and we don't even consider it a bloodline. Not even close. You know what I'm saying? So, mad props to those breeders, and shout out to those breeders who have been able to stay true, to densify their yards, and intensify that geno, and really solidify that pheno, and really push those looks that they've been progressing on and working generation after generation. Great kennels out there.
That stayed true. That stayed true on in the face of
continue
adversity.
To work.
Yeah.
And continue to work. Mando's Bullies, what's going on, brother? When you have a vision and work hard to bring into reality generations after generations, that's how you build program. Basically, it is the progress you achieve with your vision and work. Absolutely, homie.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Well said. You know what I'm saying? Well said, bro. Mario says, well, that's a dangerous statement, right? I agree with you, but to say bloodline is something you can create great dogs or kennels with, I agree with the idea, but is the reason why
it's the reason why the definition gets twisted. A bloodline is a bloodline.
Right.
Says you can make a bloodline if terrible dogs doesn't make it right, but it also don't move the fact it's a bloodline.
Correct.
Correct. And that's where we go.
That's what we were saying about
it might not
be my cup of tea.
Or my
cup of coffee.
My producer,
But I mean, hey, like I said, and we're not like I said.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You're gonna get what you're gonna get.
We're just being honest here because we've dealt with that. We've dealt with that blood and we know what it does. Now I'm not trying to shit on nobody's work. All I'm saying is
because it's still work.
It's still work. It's still work.
It's still work.
No matter how we look at it, the man has created, I believe, 6 plus 10 generations of his own work, and he's still a kennel. He's still muscle tone,
and he's still working.
And is still known by Bashar. So it's like you cannot not give that dude his work. That's his work, and everybody, like we've said, needs to be aware.
And like we said, we give the criteria is consistency, duration. We never said consistency of what.
Right. Exactly. Consistency of what? You know what I'm saying?
So we're not putting to what degree oh, this is the best bloodline. Oh, this is the worst. Oh,
no, we're just discussing what is a bloodline.
Yes,
that's it.
And you're right. They shouldn't get it twisted because we should be a little more educated on that.
Exactly.
We ain't trying to crisscross no lines. We're trying to define them.
Yep.
You know?
Jesse Gomez says there's levels to it. Charles says a wise man once told me, a legend in the game told me, don't be afraid to use Dax. Just know what you're using. Don't be scared of it. Not sure about the hate for Dax because my male is 4-time Dax and Gotti line and is health checked and cleared, hips and heart. And I'm so misunderstood the hate. That's another thing. You know what I'm saying? If you have the right blood to be able to work with certain types of dogs, but you know that you can, because like we've said, there's no taking out Dax. I mean, like, no. It's just what it is. Like, a lot of these pedigrees have Dax in it, including a lot of the razor edge stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And
so
and ain't no hate out there.
It's no hate. Like, this is just honesty between us conversating. Like, whether we like it or not, you know, Dax might have not been that particular dog that we all might have liked, and his pedigree may have been a little bit questionable, you know, but at the same time, that dog influenced a lot of breeders, a lot of kennels that then became programs that never became bloodlines. But they were programs, and they had a lot of work out there. So that work got out there somewhere or another. Right. Now, it takes a good program to hone in the good qualities of what can be brought in, and the bad qualities of what you should not.
That's where we don't hold the dog accountable. That's where we hold the program and the humans running that program.
Correct.
Because it's on us, and we hold you guys all accountable.
Correct.
All of us. We hold ourselves accountable.
I got to be honest with you guys. We have some Dax in our lines too.
Absolutely.
So when you look back at it, you wouldn't even think. You know what I'm saying? Because the dogs are so healthy, and that's exactly what Charles is saying. That why is it? Well, because through selective breeding, these traits have been filtered out. So now you got a better product from good programs that brought you this dog that now is a much healthier specimen
through time
and work that once was Dax. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah, guys.
So Travis Smith says, what is the problem with Dax? Well, that, my friend Travis, is left for your research, my brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is left for some research.
That's a good way to get in there. If anybody, give them some hands-on first world examples.
Yeah,
right?
and if you check out the comments, you know, like we've said, we're all engaging in conversations. So, you know, there's some people in there that have their points of views and their thoughts on it. So, you know, that's all viable opinion. You know what I'm saying? And we progress on the subject of bloodlines.
Hey, little puppy, give me your charm. Because it's the blood that you bring in, it's the blood that you get out.
That's right.
And that is the ultimate truth, and you won't know that until you actually, you know, go through with some of these things. Use it.
Right.
You don't believe the hype, then believe the pudding.
Let's see. We have a few little dotties here of some things we may think about here, right? What turns a program into a bloodline? And when and only does a program turn into a bloodline? Okay? When you have multiple generations, 6+ generations, instantly recognizable by the community, where they can tell.
Yeah, I like how you put that.
That dog comes from so-and-so.
6 generations deep, and they're still recognizable from their first generation.
That's right.
And multiple litters.
Yep. Other kennels use their dogs to start their programs.
When other people are saying, why? Because that adds to the pool.
That's right.
To a cleaner pool.
And not only that, like we've said, the most important thing here, and we all have to see this, is the bigger picture. The bigger picture is not a bloodline or a program. The bigger picture is the gene pool.
That's right.
Is the whole gene pool.
Yeah, what are we doing here, fellas, if we're not protecting that?
So if you look at that and you think to yourself, well, I want to start a program. The best advice that we could give to start off with the foundational blood, a bloodline, that you can track back these things and you can start from there, because you don't already want to start scatterbread. You want to start off something substantial, something concrete. It's like when you're building a wall or a building, the first thing you do is put a footing.
That's right, the base, your
foundation.
The
base, your foundation. So let bloodlines be your footings.
Yeah.
Let bloodlines be your footings. Other foundation dogs, that program's foundational dog or their stud puts a genetic stamp on every breeding he does, meaning that he passes those traits. So, that is another way. And in always, I believe, and I was taught this by the wizard, my mentor, that the females will give you the base of a good program, but the males will be the face of your program and your work. And your males will be the ones to be able to pass on your work. So how are you going to build your product to pass on so that they get the same product that you started off with? So think about that. You know what I'm saying? Think about that.
I was ugly.
Shout out to the wizard.
I was always the ugly one in the relationship myself. My kids ended up getting a little bit of her, so that's.
A foundation male or female, like we just discussed. You know what I'm saying? Some say build your foundation off your females, and others will tell you, build your foundation off of males. And we build off of both, but our face is our studs, our males, and our building blocks are our females.
Yeah, and you got to know them. You have to know what they do. You have to know. Obviously, if you're working with your females, with your dames, and you know that they're gonna push their blood hard. Yeah. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Yeah. You're gonna get a male that pushes his hard. Or why are you doing that? Yeah. Or just to see what happens, or do you have a direction? What you create?
Yeah, I gotta say, man, come on. Before you start a program,
know what you're doing. Have a vision.
That's right. Do your research. Don't just get into buying a dog. Do your research on where your dog comes from. Not just who you bought it from, but where he comes from. His lineage. It's like the Rothschilds, right? In humans.
We don't talk about the Rothschilds.
You know what I'm saying? Like, in humans. Like, they're behind every powerful establishment.
Yeah, they've selectively bred.
They've selectively bred for years.
Knows that that's not something that is new. So hopefully we don't
cross any. You don't cross some lines.
You don't cross no lines. You know what I mean? Those are national treasures right there.
This is national treasure.
Nah.
But listen, that's what we're saying. Those are bloodlines. You know what I'm saying? Those are bloodlines through generations of lineage that you can still track back to the day, from where they first started to the day.
Yeah.
And those are the type of bloodlines that you want to start your programs, your foundation, your footings. You know what I'm saying? Those are the blocks you want to start off with. Now, that you're going to get different looks sometimes, that you're going to have different tools with the same blood. Yes. And those are the tools that you have to build your show dogs.
Rick Sanchez says, what's the earliest age of a dog that you've seen they weren't going to be good enough for the program?
Oh, man, I tell you, like,
Rick Sanchez.
I can tell you that we can tell if they're not be good for the program once they're born, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can tell you that once they're born, because if the dog seems to have, whatever genetical issues, if the dog seems to may have had the female lack of calcium and brought some cleft palates, or, some eventual problems with...
There are those easy signs.
There are easy signs. Kink tails, bad tail placements, whatever. You can tell right off the bat. But if you're looking for quality, then, and you're willing to start off with something like that, you must talk to the breeder, and he's the person who's going to tell you, because a good breeder isn't going to sell you a 4-week-old puppy and say, this is going to be your foundation. This is going to be it for you. You got this, Nah, man. If you're going to place those dogs, and I say this as a breeder, we don't place dogs like that. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes we hold on to them until 6 months. 5-6 months.
That's right.
Until we're absolutely sure. And if I'm not sure, then I won't do it. You know what I'm saying? I won't do it.
And then there's other, we see them and we're like, okay, she might not. Well, man, because we have lots of things we're looking for.
Right.
We have lots of things that we're looking for, but
I would say the most substantial age that I would say that you can tell if he's not going to be able to work for your program or not is about 3 months. About 3 months, you'll really solidify if he's going to help or not. And you always want to bring in traits that are going to improve what you're doing. You don't want to come back. And that's even with looking with studs, right? You go and look for a good stud. And like we talked last episode, you'll go and look for a stud. And because it's a known name in the game, and we're not going to put any names out there. We said some names last show, We said some because names you're today. Because you're a known name, you're going to go to them. But really, when those puppies they look nothing like them. They don't resemble anything even close to the dog. Like, and not only that, but now some of the puppies are having problems breathing. It's getting hot and the puppies are really starting to sound terrible when they're breathing. Yeah. So now what you've done is you went to bring in a known name or a stud name, or what we like to call, you went based off of ribbons and trophies, then really going based off of bloodline and knowledge,
consistency,
and consistency and health.
If you research your bloodline, you'll see their consistency. What do they bring to the table? What's consistent? And now, when you just buy a dog from a known level, you're just slapping the kennel name to the dog. That's all it is.
Right.
The program of that kennel name is slapped on this nice dog.
Yeah, once you produce something off that dog, your kennel name is slapped on there.
That's what I said.
You know what I mean?
Does a bloodline?
But you're not a bloodline yet.
Yeah, because if you produce, if you say your bloodline, if you produce one good dog in 3-4 generations, you produce one good dog, you sold that dog, and now all of a sudden, that's a bloodline. Bam. Without saying names, because we already said them.
A lot of the times, and like we've said, you have to see percentages in those dogs. Those dogs that carry the name of bloodlines will always give you that certain trait, that certain look. You know what I'm saying? We can tell you from experience. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like these are things that we're just making up here randomly. These are things that we've seen through our progress in our breeding program, how things can set you back, how things move you forward much more rapidly, how the increase of health is brought upon by a good, strong bloodline that genetically has been working towards that. There's some bloodlines that have genetically been working towards a phenotype. You know what I'm saying? There's some bloodlines that have genetically been working towards health. You know what I'm saying? Functionality. And there's some bloodlines that have been worked off of show dogs, which is very rare to have a show dog as also a tool and a producer and passes on the traits of his bloodline that he comes from.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
And that's what you strive for.
That's what you strive for. You strive for that. You strive to produce
that's
the
what
male.
You're looking for. Yeah, you're hunting for that.
That can pass that on and have the females that are, genetically binded to that you're still working off of and progressing. You know what I'm saying? Progressing. Now, let's talk about a little bit about airing out.
That's good.
You know, just talk a little bit about airing out.
When is it okay?
When would it be okay to air out a bloodline? You know what I'm saying? I believe that airing out is a very critical thing, because not only are you looking at the pedigree and the genome, but you're also looking at physical traits that are happening through your breedings, right? Through your litters. Your litters tend to get smaller in size. Your litters tend to get smaller in numbers. Your puppies begin to lack certain things. You know what I'm saying? They start to develop certain faults. And just as much as you're trying to tighten up the good, the bad also comes right along with that. So if you didn't do your research and you started inbreeding dogs with heart murmurs and you didn't even know it, what are you doing? You're really producing a problem. You know what I'm saying? And therein comes the fact that we were talking about. You have to have some kind of basis and accountability and do some kind of testing for your studs, right? Like we said, and we say it again, you don't gotta bring down the whole fucking table for this. You know what I'm saying? There's just certain things that you test for in certain breeds, you know?
George Luna says, you know, when those serious faults start to appear, you gotta eliminate that.
Right, and you have to track back.
Nip it in the...
Right away. That's when you start airing out. Boom. But you also have to be aware of where it came from.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Where it came from. You know, so these are all very good things. And we're going to get into more of genetics. That's going to be a good one we're going to get into too. And that's where we'll talk a lot about that. You know, inbreeding, line breeding, airing out, outcrossing. You know what I'm saying? Tight line breedings. You know, all of these things we're going to get into soon. So, you know, like we said, these are just open conversations for us.
Just something we were chopping up about this week. Just, you know, we know it's one of those topics that could get here and there, could go, you know, but honestly, we're just here because we have the same questions. We have a direction. We have our own points of view, and we stand firm by that.
Absolutely.
You know, we keep the live mics on and the hot topics going because this is things that we need to talk about.
Right.
And clarify.
And at the end of the day, I believe, and we've said this before, that all of these conversations we have are good, man. You know, all the different points of views. And we want to shout out to everybody on the live today. And everybody that was commenting, Bunky, Mario, George Luna, Jesse Gomez, Charles, everybody that's been hopping on and off, man.
Bulls.
You know, we really appreciate you guys. Travis, Angela, Rick.
You on the East Coast,
you know,
man.
We really appreciate you guys tapping in and creating this community for us to be able to all kind of share our thoughts. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
We don't do this for anything other than being able to open up a platform for us to be able to reach out to one another and chop it up.
Make
you know what I'm
this
saying?
community stronger and this movement stronger, and it's catching wheels. I'm telling you.
Yeah, man. And look, not everybody is going to agree with our point of view, right?
Yeah,
and we like
great.
that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a good thing.
We welcome all you guys to disagree, you know?
And for those of you that didn't hop on the live today, when you guys check it out on YouTube or Spotify,
drop your comments.
Drop your comments on there. You know, like, subscribe, share. You guys can catch us on Instagram, on Facebook.
Let us know what you guys think a bloodline is and what it represents, and you know, drop down some names.
Michael Mata out there watching too, brother. Nice to have you on board today.
God.
Thank you for fucking stopping in. And hey, for those of you that haven't checked out Michael Mata's product, man,
check it out.
Check that shit out.
Check it out.
You know, the CBD drops he has, man, are awesome. Canna drops. I tell you, we use that with all our stuff.
And
breeding females,
just as a
all our pups. You know what I'm saying?
Everyday health.
Wonderful
benefit.
product. For those of you that haven't used it or want to know more about it,
I took some myself. I did.
Self-dose. Self-dose.
I went through Texas like it was nothing. Me and Bo out here saying that
talking some bullshit between both of them. They were both murmuring at each other. Both talking dog talk. But man.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure today. Awesome conversation. We want to thank all you guys out there for watching. Remember, Spotify, Bullies on Parade. You can catch episode 1 through 6 on there. YouTube, on Esco Bully Den. You can catch us on there as well. Episode 1 through 6 and live on the Facebooks, on my page and Esco's page.
Coming, man. We
got a bunch more stuff coming, dude. We got a lot of stuff in the future that we plan to do. Also, big shout out to the people shooting out those shows this upcoming few months. We really hope and are really looking forward to seeing everybody out there at these shows, man. Super honor to be a judge at San Bruno. I still don't know the assignments for the future, but I will be in tune with everybody. God bless every one of you guys, man.
This was Bullies on Parade, where the
mic is live and the standards are high, baby. God bless.
All right, guys.